Hello, guys. Sorry, we're running a few minutes late. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze. It's a perfect time of the year. It's the most flammable time of the year. Welcome. Hope everybody had a happy holiday. Hope everyone is enjoying. Is this the second day of Kwanzaa? Yeah, Kwanzaa. What's the second principle? What's the second Nguzu Sabo? Shit, don't give me the line. It's Nguzu Sabo, right? The seven principles of Kwanzaa. Tonight is Kuji Chagalia, self determination, if I'm not mistaken. How do I still remember this? I don't know. But let me tell y'all something funny. So before we went on, I was chatting with Will. Y'all know Will, the man behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, clipping the clips, doing the thing. He wished me happy Kwanzaa, happy Kuji Chagalia. I told him, I said, Kuji Chagalia is my middle name. I said, that's my middle name. He said, for real? I said, nah. He said, but if you tell the right white person, they probably would believe you. And I said, you're probably right. Yes, what's your middle name, Kim? Oh, my middle name, it's Kuji Chagalia. Oh my gosh, that's so wondrous and festive. That's so interesting. How do you say that again? You say coochie chuckle, coochie chuckle, coochie chuckle. I'm sorry. That cracked me up a few minutes ago, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. But of course, a John Brown Brigade would never mispronounce Kuji Chagalia. I'm sure the John Brown Brigade is more versed on the principles of Kwanzaa than a lot of us are. So anyway, guys, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Do me a favor. Um, put a thumbs up on this video, please, and thank you. Because like I said, YouTube, we know how YouTube be acting, but let us defeat the algorithm as best as we can. So show the video some love. Also, if like I said, at a point any time in the future, just put like a thumbs up or something, like, or maybe a heart. I don't know, but some sort of comment under the video, because I guess that tells you too that people are engaging with the content and they like it. I don't know. I hate trying to figure out how computers think, because to me that sounds counterproductive. But regardless, we've got a good show in store for you all tonight. Got a couple stories I want to get to. An update on the Florida voters whom were targeted by Ron DeSantis's voter integrity, whatever the fuck, target niggas squad, targeting people who are former offenders who had their voting rights restored, went to vote, and then DeSantis flagged them for some bullshit. And we even saw here on the show where several people were, in fact, arrested, faced charges, had to come up with bail. Ridiculous. But I have an update on at least one of those that had been charged under that DeSantis foolery. Also, we're going to take a look at a story that I saw from a local TV outlet in Shreveport, Louisiana, because there's been, over recent years, there's been a spate of unsolved homicides of some Black trans women. And the families of these Black trans women believe, I'm sure that they are correct, believe that the Shreveport Police Department is just not giving a fuck because of who the victims are. And quite possibly, there is an active, potentially serial killer of Black trans women happening in the Shreveport area. So I want us to take a look at this report because, again, when local TV news outlets focus on stories pertaining to marginalized communities and they do it humanely, I can appreciate it. Not saying it was done the best, but I'm glad that the story has been told and reported to give me an opportunity to retell and re-report about these open unsolved homicides of Black trans women in Shreveport, Louisiana. But I want us to get started with the breaking news before we went live on air. And I'm going to come back to the shout outs, everybody, because my computer had restarted. Like I was waiting for it to get its stuff together before we went on, and so I don't have the show up yet. There's a lot of wayward windows up, but I'm gonna get to my doc here in a second. But I can start with the breaking news. So the breaking news, in case you guys did not hear, the Supreme Court. Um, I was gonna say y'all's homies, but God, God forbid, God forbid. Maybe Sonia. Maybe that's a maybe. But anyway, the Supreme Court actually weighed in on the issue of Title 42. Title 42, the Trump era immigration policy that prevented people who were seeking asylum, specifically focusing on those coming in from the southern border, precluding them from coming over and proceeding with their asylum claims based off some health protocols pertaining to COVID, which again, America it does not care about the COVID, and I'm sure America as an entity, as a record label, does not care about the COVID as it pertains to the undocumented folks trying to come across the border and make a new home for themselves. So the Supreme Court weighed in, and in a 5-4 decision, they decided to keep the Trump era policy in place, Title 42. And I'm sure the Biden administration was like, darn, darn. Oh, we tried, guys. Who? We gave it a good shot. But the Supreme Court has said, we can't do nothing about the bullshit. Biden administration could do something about this. They could. So anyway, how did the Supreme Court even come to be as a part of this? So I think it was 19 attorneys generals from border states wanted to appeal a lower court's decision to get rid of Title 42 because the lower court judge, I think, described the policy as capricious and outdated at this point. As I previously stated, the United States has moved onward from COVID and does not seem to be concerned about the COVID. So to preclude people from coming over seeking their asylum claims based off of COVID doesn't seem correct, does it? No, it doesn't. So that is a continuation of what we have seen, the continued cruelty and inhumanity and blatant apathy shown towards migrants trying to get to this country. Again, I keep saying from the southern border because I feel like motherfuckers is just walking over from Canada, just all willy nilly, and ain't nobody paying attention. Everybody looking at down in Mexico, ain't nobody looking at these Canadians and other folks. I'm guessing European because I feel like white people have the best disguise. That white skin, nobody questions white people. They're like, oh yeah, they must be hiking. they must be hiking here along the U.S. Canadian border. Hey, you guys lost? You need some help? You need provisions? We'll help you out. Did you guys see the pictures coming from DC? I believe was this Christmas Eve. Okay, so first of all, we know that we have been dealing with a very severe weather system that has impacted the eastern 2/3 of this country, where people in Texas experienced record temperatures. We saw water bursting in, water pipes bursting in people's homes. I don't think did the grid hold up in Texas? It was really wild to see Governor Greg Abbott continue to send migrants by the busload, by the thousands, to northern cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, and Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Texas, infrastructure crumbling in front of us, the grid crumbling in front of us, and Greg Abbott still made time to be racist and mean. Isn't that funny how that works? Like, no matter what, the racists will stay true to form. Even while shit is going wrong for them and their constituents, they will make sure that the cruelty remains the point. And I want us to take a look at some pictures over the holiday weekend outside of Vice President Kamala Harris's house. I'm sure you guys saw this. This made the rounds on social media, but I think it's important that we need to see this because truthfully, it's Republicans and Democrats. This is another bipartisan issue in which the parties stand firmly united on their intention to do very little to improve the situation, to make it a more streamlined process for people to come to this country, secure whatever work documents that they need. And truthfully, if the folks want citizenship, there needs to be a very clear and easy path to citizenship that does not involve a bunch of bureaucracy and fines and all of this shit. Like America, if the capitalist system is to continue as it intends to, which we hope it falls down, it falls down and busts its head wide open. But if capitalism wants to continue, capitalism needs to import some workers, because America's labor force has decided to go in a different direction. So I mean, if capitalism wants to continue to keep capitalizing, it seemed to me that they would make it easier for these folks to come over here. But no, no, these people are a means to an end, and people like Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis are using these folks just really in the most disgusting and inhumane ways, sending people thousands more miles away from where their initial point of entry was, to make them try to figure out what their arrangements are going to be in a place even more foreign to them than, I suppose, South Texas or even South Florida. But let's take a look at this clip. I think this was shot by journalist Noah Gray. And mind you, the temperatures in Washington, D.C. over this past weekend, cold. And I mean unusually cold. I mean even unseasonably cold. The meteorologist around here told us that these were the coldest temperatures. This was the coldest Christmas DC has experienced in over 30 years. Temperatures were in the single digits. Wind chills were fluctuating between the negatives and the single digits. I mean, it was unbearably cold. So keep that in mind as you see these pictures of migrants being offloaded at a bus in front of Kamala Harris's house on Christmas Eve. People were not prepared for these temperatures. And most of them were just there with the items that they had crossed the border with, which you can imagine would have been very, very little, and definitely not prepared for the elements. But there is a group of mutual aid organizations, one of them here in Washington called Sanctuary DMV. They have been picking up the slack where government, federal and local, have truly just fallen down intentionally at this point on the job. Okay, now here's the thing, and I don't even like to fucking agree. I do not like to agree with conservatives, and I'm not agreeing with them per se. But let me say this: so I can understand. First of all, I mean, this is an issue. People need housing. People need to be provided for. They need food. They need the opportunity to connect with their loved ones and their communities that are already established here in the United States. They don't need further impediments to that. But there has to be some sort of federal intervention here to make sure that gets facilitated in an efficient way. Because at the end of the day, what I think both Democrats and Republicans need to acknowledge, and I think they do understand this, but the way that they approach this problem, it doesn't seem as if they do understand it, is that the people gonna keep coming. Okay, these people are gonna keep coming. A lot of them are going to keep coming. There is no keeping them out. There is no denying them entry. They're going to come regardless. So it seems to me you need, if you want to set up, if you're so concerned about national security down at the southern border, then get your shit together. Shit, start processing people. Start taking names. Start finding out who is coming through the border. If it's really a national security issue, because we know this Title 42 shit is some bullshit. Because again, we know, especially them down at the southern border, those in power, those holding elected office. I'm being specific here. We know they don't give a goddamn about COVID. Okay, they stopped giving a damn about. Wasn't it the Texas? Was it the lieutenant governor or was it the attorney general? I think it was the lieutenant governor. The he has a name. He has a famous name. Somebody else shares his name, like a basketball player, like a famous. Oh Jesus! And I'm not even chat because I need to log into the chat so you guys can coach me through my brain farts. But anyway, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, don't you guys remember in the months immediately after the lockdowns began in 2020, he got on television trying to tell Texas seniors to sacrifice themselves for the economy. Like what? He was trying to tell old folks to go out in the economy and sacrifice themselves for the economy. So we know Texas don't give a goddamn about COVID. I'm guessing the same is the similar attitudes with Arizona and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get logged into the chat here. So it's the cruelty. It is the meanness. It is the intentionality to make sure that people remember that they are other, that they are not welcome, even though the only reason these folks keep on coming is because some white person keeps hiring them for shit. Somebody white keeps saying, keeps rolling by a fucking Home Depot parking lot every morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And some white person keeps giving these people work. And listen, I'm for the folks being here. Let me be clear. I have no issue. There is no, I'm trying to even think of what scenario could I ever have an objection to immigrants or migrants coming to this country. None. The more the merrier. Spicy this fucking unseasoned country to fuck up. Please. Spice it up. Bring all of your flavorful foods and your syncopated percussion music. Come on. All of this sounds like improvements to me. I have no objection to the immigrants, migrants. The more the merrier. Come forth. Let's get this party started. I'm still trying to find my doc. Give me a second. Thank you guys. Okay, I'm in the chat. Woo! There goes everybody. Hey Anna. What's going on, Latif? Hey, Cape Socialist. Ask who. I'm so glad to see you guys in here. Appreciate you. Oh, we got a decent little crowd in here. Okay, cool. So, and there's a number of stories actually. I didn't pull them because it was getting kind of long. My doc was getting kind of full. What's up, Silberg? Silberg, tell me what the weather was like in Boston. Crazy, right? Oh my gosh. And much empathy and condolences going out to the people in Western New York, especially up there in Buffalo. 36 reported deaths so far, likely to probably be more. Just because a lot of people have not had their power restored, so we don't know what that situation is going to be. Oh my God, I just keep thinking about the unhoused people across this country in places where the temperatures plunged. And America's just not up. I can't see that's bad framing. I was gonna say America's not up to the task. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. America just dropped $850 billion in the latest budget to go to the Pentagon. America could more than house people. Is over capable of housing people and making sure that our immigration system works for folks, particularly the immigrants, right? But this is willful intention. This is the folks in charge like to see everything stymied and choked up and not working, because it's not their lives that are at stake. It's not them that are being shuffled around the country and having all this animosity directed toward them, not only from regular fucking racists, but from those in power. Like Greg Abbott's got some fucking nerve. So does DeSantis. But I want us to talk about. I want us to switch gears and go, if we could, to a story that I saw coming out of France. And this is maybe a couple weeks in the making. Again, I'm at a tad bit of a disadvantage because my doc is not ouvre en front devant moi. Let me see if I can get my studs, pick up my French here. I'm about to drop my French on y'all. Y'all not ready. Y'all not ready for it. Fellas, close your ears because you might cream in your panties when you hear me start talking this French. That's okay. It's okay. It's okay to admit it. You can't deny it, baby. I'm about to make you creamy. Shh, 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 shh. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. Get off. I'm sorry. Again, I'm highly inappropriate. Let me tighten back up because this is a very serious story I'm actually about to tell y'all about coming out of France, because there is as much animosity towards migrants in Europe as I'm sure you all know, right? In Italy, I think it was off the coast of Sicily. This was maybe a month ago. Well, I would say, I'm saying it's a month ago, but really it's an ongoing story. It's a story that happens all the time where a boatload full of people trying to cross the Mediterranean into Europe after the election of the new right-wing Italian prime minister, they were refusing to let these people get off the boat, right? I actually need to follow up on that. I don't even know what happened. I'm not even sure what happened with that. But that is a very common story for people trying to enter into Greece and into Italy. And I guess I don't know, do they go like that in France? But regardless, there was a racist attack on Kurdish folks outside of a cultural center. This was in Paris, I believe, Paris proper. And this person who made this attack, so far identified as William M., killed 3 Kurdish immigrants. And afterwards, some of the community took to the streets to do it like they kind of, it seems like they only do it like this in France, where I think we tear shit up sometimes. No, 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 no. In Paris, they tear shit up. Okay, they tear it up. I wanted to take a look at these clips of people in the streets in an uprising, marking the murder of these 3 Kurdish migrants. And then there was some new information that was revealed about the person who is alleged to have killed them. But I wanted to take a look at these scenes from Paris in the streets. Let's take a look. Goodwill. Stunning scenes there from out of France. Will, if you could pop up that French language article for me. This is mediapal.fr. And the headline reads: On avait la trouille de le centre culturel Keld, une attaque au sabre contre des exils passés sous silence. Now, what does that translate to? It says a year before this attack, 1 year before this accused assassin, William M., 1 year before this attack, this person on the Kurdish Cultural Center, the attacker actually used a sword, or a saber, against a migrant camp on the outskirts of Paris, if I have that, au Parc de Bercy, in December of 2021. The victims were kept in custody. Now, mind you, the victims of this sword attack, French authorities kept the victims in custody for 48 hours, did not allow them to receive treatment for that time, barely interrogated, right? They were hardly interviewed. And one of the victims of this sword attack by this alleged murderer in France was expelled from the country, and the others were fined. Like, now we know America behaves waywardly to non-white folks and immigrants, people coming into the country. We learned all this from our mama and daddy over there in Europe. Okay, from France, from England, from Italy, Spain, Portugal, all the OG colonizers. America took all of its cues from them. And it's the same. It is the same. And the ways in which the racism manifests itself, both in state policy and in the individual so-called vigilante actions of people that call themselves trying to fix the immigration problem by murdering people, right? By taking out their racist, white supremacist, violent, colonizing notions on innocent folks, completely minding their business. I mean, this is part and parcel. And and circling back to this decision that came out of the United States Supreme Court today to continue to deny thousands of people waiting on the other side of the southern border, deny them access to come and get and make their asylum claims. Every part about that is unconstitutional. If you want to look at it from a law perspective, I'm hoping that, the ACLU, and I can totally see the ACLU or some sort of other immigration policy, pro-immigration policy organizations filing suit. And well, fuck, I guess it's the Supreme Court, goddamn it. So I mean, fuck, something has to happen here. The Democrats need to do something, because we know that all my suggestions, I shoot them down in my head like 2 seconds after I say them, because I know that the Democrats are not going to do shit about the situation. That they've lost control of the House. They have a slim margin in the Senate. Biden is widely unpopular, and this is not even his wheelhouse any fucking way. He and Barack Obama deported a record number of undocumented folks. They was caging people before Trump started caging people, started putting kids in cages. That was Obama and them. Obama and Biden and them. Doing that from way, way back. So what can we do? I am going to link, and I know you guys say, Kim, you lie all the time and say you're going to link. No, because this is important, I am going to link this into the show description right after the show. I know. Stop calling me a liar. Stop it. I can hear y'all in the chat just saying, Kim, shut up. You're such a liar. But no, because Sanctuary DMV actually posted mutual aid links to organizations in Philadelphia, in Chicago, and in New York, in addition to Sanctuary DMV's links. Because again, we got to help ourselves out here. And as far as I'm concerned, these migrants, these immigrants, these are our neighbors. Like, these are our folks. These are mostly Black and brown people walking across that border, getting put on buses by DeSantis and Greg Abbott and sent further into parts unknown, unprepared, with no access to services whatsoever. It is regular ass people in these northern cities that are coming together to show up when these buses pull up and make sure that these folks have clothes, that they have food to eat, that their children are tended to. There's a lot of small children on these on these bus rides. And if I'm and guys, the number is staggering. I think Sanctuary DMV. I'm sorry. We'll play that other clip. That I think it's from the fuck. I don't remember where it's from. It's a local DC news outlet. I snatched it. The reporter's name is Evan something. Evan K. You got that clip? If you got it, go ahead and roll that for me, please.
The goal is really to dump people, in a place where it will make a big political impact. And that's really my point, is the cruelty is the point.
Tonight we're hearing from Bianca Vasquez, an organizer for the Migrant Solidarity Mutual Aid Network. They were the group that jumped into action on Christmas Eve when buses started to arrive.
3 buses, about 140 people.
The migrants were dropped off in front of the Naval Observatory on Mass Ave, the home of the Vice President. Amy Fisher, also from the Mutual Aid Network, was there to greet those migrants in that 18-degree weather.
These buses were actually initially intended to go to New York and then shifted to D.C. because of the weather.
Most folks are coming with what they can carry, so people are arriving without adequate clothing for the cold weather.
And this is not an isolated incident. Just days ago, Texas Governor Greg Abbott stated that they have sent some 8,700 migrants to D.C. since April. They've also sent thousands to New York City, Chicago, and Philadelphia. In a Thursday press release, Abbott pointed the finger at the White House, writing in part, quote, Texas is having to step up and take extraordinary efforts that have never been undertaken by any state in the history of the United States to secure our border. Vasquez says that D.C. is not the final destination for many of these migrants, and many have already been redirected by bus or plane. But for those who are staying, she says they've been placed in hotels. She says over $400,000 has been donated to their network to help these migrants.
The $400,000 that we have raised has showed that our local communities want to do that. They want to welcome people. They want to provide support. They want to say that immigrants are welcome in our communities.
Now, to deal with this influx of migrants, the city has taken drastic action. Back in September, Mayor Muriel Bowser declared a public emergency and created the Office of Migrant Services, allocating an initial $10 million for the program. But Vasquez telling us tonight that they're urging the city to go even further, offering long-term services to every migrant that needs it. Reporting in Northwest tonight, this is Evan Kozloff, WUSA 9.
All right. Yep. And that is correct. DC's rolling in money. I would imagine, I don't know what New York's budget situation is, but I'm sure New York is doing all right. They got enough to bankroll the cops to the tune of $10 billion a year. New York probably doing all right too. Chicago probably doing all right too financially, when they're not, dumping all their money into policing. Yeah, these cities got the money in order to receive these people, to provide permanent offices of services for them. To me, $10 million from the District of Columbia is a drop in the bucket. DC got way more money than that they can spend, because they're trying to, again, give it all to the cops. Why don't you give it to the people that are most in need? So just giving you just another perspective, and just a reminder that this country, that so-called founded on Judeo-Christian principles, it is in no way aligned with Jesus. Okay, there is nothing Jesus-like about the way that the American government, and fuck France, and the way the France government to bitch ass England, to all of the empires, all of them, and it's just bizarre to hear very ungodly people claim to believe so much in God, but never would they do the things that Christ embodied during his short time here on earth. Okay, now I'm not a religious person per se, but I believe that Jesus existed. I believe Jesus even did all the shit that they said Jesus did. I do believe that. But I also know that, a lot of people that claim to be faux Jesus do the opposite of what Jesus would do. And that is this very hypocritical, cruel nation in which we live. And during the Christmas season, had there been a Jesus situation, of which, and I'm sure there was several dozen Jesus situations where you had a migrant couple trying to gain passage into a place, a land that they thought would be a better place for them to have their baby and start their family and do their thing, only to be persecuted by the state, only to be denied entrance and admission. America don't even think like that. Like, how many Jesuses, how many Jesuses, how many Jesuses got denied and is sitting on the other side of the border right now during the Christmas holiday season? Get me out of this wayward ass fucking country. Anyway, there's that. Thank you all so much for being here. My apologies for yammering a bit and being angry, but I'm trying to shake it off. Okay. So we've got some announcements. We give y'all some announcements. So, first and foremostly, this Friday, after the Friday show, I have a surprise. Don't ask me what it is, because then it won't be a surprise. But if you watch the Friday show, stay tuned, because immediately after there will be a surprise. Okay. And then after the surprise will be the Friday, the December AMA. We do the Ask Me Anythings once a month, the last Friday of the month, exclusively for patrons and members. Even though some of y'all have gotten to participate in some AMAs, because certain people named Kim Brown do not know how to push the buttons right. So what was supposed to be a patrons and members only event turned out to be an everybody event, but whatever. It was the more the merrier. But I promise this time it's going to be exclusively for the patrons and the members. And thank you all. Big up to Shay. Thank you so much, Shay, for your new channel membership. Sometimes it takes me a couple days to get caught up on when people run us bucks. Thank you so much, Nawadi. I think I saw Obi. You ran us a bucks. Crip Hop Nation. Thank you so much for your continued support. Tressa, did I big you up last show for your super chat? I don't know. But anyway, thank you all so much. Hold on, let me see if there was anybody. Brendan W. Thank you, Brendan, for your I think you Venmo'd us. And if you want to support the channel, because people really support, I was very not expecting the level of support that we got this December. I mean, because usually, niggas is broke. Usually niggas is broke. And that's not a diss to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not calling nobody broke. I'm not calling y'all broke. How could I call anybody broke? But anyway, but usually niggas is broke, and normally we don't get broke off like this. So I Big Cat's Corner, thank you so much for your Cash App support, and for all of your support, and for supporting the Baltimore Abortion Fund as well. So I just wanted to give the thank yous, you guys. Thank you all so much for doing what you do, for showing up in the chat, for dropping comments, for keeping these bum ass trolls off my page. Shout out to my mods. Big up to Courtney and Latif. I mean, I appreciate everything, big, small, spoken, unspoken, seen, unseen. If you have support for the channel, I love you and I support. What's up, a lady 747? Thank you, baby. Why are you laughing? Sometimes I be behind in the chat and I see y'all's crying face, laughing emojis, and I'm like, Jesus, what did I say? But it's fine. But I always practicing gratitude, and I will continue to practice gratitude into the new year, because I'm very appreciative. Woo! 2 years, everybody. I know our channel says we were born in 2020, and I can't half-ass count, but we became independent December 31st. Fucking, I guess that was 2020. So December 31st, 2020 to 21 is 1 year, and then from 2021 to 2022, which is right now, is 2 years. So the channel is 2 big years old, and we're doing a thug thing out here. Now, moving on to my next story, let me give a trigger warning, content warning, for, I guess you can call police indifference, or police dereliction of duty, or police just not giving a fuck about public safety and serving the community, I think that is justifiable as a trigger warning for some form of police brutality. Would you guys agree or disagree? Also, trigger warning um for violence and murder against trans women, particularly Black trans women. And if you guys, and I'm sure several of you do, because I know we've got some real news hounds in the fire fam. Like, we got some news hounds in the fire fam. Like, y'all be on it hard. And every now and again, thank you so much, Steve. Steve just ran us a super chat and said, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate it. With that kind of support, we absolutely will. But periodically, every few months, I'll see stories, not even so much stories. There'll usually be posts on social media, and it will be a collage of faces, usually Black faces, Black women's faces, and Black trans women's faces. And it'll come from towns like Columbus, Ohio, or it'll come out of places like North and Central Florida, or in Chicago, and in this case in Shreveport, Louisiana, where you'll have a cluster of either missing and murdered Black women, cisgender women, and trans women. And in Shreveport, the local news channel there, KSLA, did a story. They did a story about the unsolved homicides of 5 Black trans women in Shreveport, and how the families of at least one of those murder victims is speaking out publicly about the inaction, the lack of progress, and the seeming indifference coming from the Shreveport Police Department as it pertains to these open homicides. And y'all know me, you know, am- all Black lives matter, period, point blank. And I don't think that the names and stories, particularly of Black trans women, those, by the way, out of all women, Black trans women, out of all women, all Black women, I should say, here in the US, Black trans women, I believe, have the lowest life expectancy. I believe that it's ridiculously low. If you guys know it, I think it's 34 years old is the life expectancy for Black trans women, and they are at an exponential risk, elevated risk of dying by murder. And one of the mothers of these murder victims in Shreveport sat down and gave a good interview. And the package is not the greatest, but I think content wise, what it's communicating, what it is putting out there, the names, faces, and stories of these Black trans women specifically, like, they get ignored far too often. And I was appreciative that in the Bible Belt, that a story like this actually got told by the local news. So let's take a look. It's a few minutes long, y'all. So chill out, get comfy, and check out this package from KSLA.
Only God knows how I'm feeling.
That is Bonita Smith, a grief-stricken mother, painfully sharing her heartbreak and frustration over the way she says police are handling the investigation, the homicide investigation of her daughter, Brooklyn Smith, who is transgender. Murdered 2 years ago, Brooklyn's death remains unsolved, and she's not alone. Her case is one of 5 homicides of transgenders where Shreveport police have yet to make an arrest. And as Smith tells Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron, she believes Brooklyn's gender identity is one reason SPD isn't working harder to catch a killer.
Early afternoon, October 7th, 2020. Shreveport police are at this west side apartment complex
When I arrived, I couldn't go near the apartment.
when Bonita Smith gets word her transgender daughter, Brooklyn Smith, is dead.
My baby was shot in the right side of her head.
Shot 3 times and left to die in the bedroom of her upstairs apartment.
Why? Why?
Inside the apartment, a police report says officers find signs of foul play. And according to Bonita,
they hurt my baby. They took my best friend. They scandalized my baby like piece of trash.
Brooklyn's body is already decomposing. And based on details investigators shared with her,
the door wasn't kicked in or nothing. They was already in there.
Bonita says Brooklyn likely knew her killer.
I know sometimes I get in my moods and I want to be alone.
And that's important because in the months before the murder,
Brooklyn helped pay bills, helping with their kids.
Bonita claims Brooklyn was giving money to a family member and her boyfriend. But when Bonita supposedly told police about the couple,
I gave you leads.
She says the detective working Brooklyn's homicide didn't seem interested in following the lead. Now, 26 months after the murder,
if he only knew how I felt, how I really felt.
Bonita says Brooklyn's detective has stopped taking her calls.
I feel like they don't want to solve my baby because he was transgender.
Turns out Brooklyn's unsolved murder isn't an isolated case in Shreveport. She's one of 5 open cases where the murder victim was either transgender or cross-dressed, and police haven't caught the killer. The first, Valerie Jock McKinney, was shot dead in July of 2013 and found lying in the middle of Kennedy Drive near the Clear Horizons apartments. 2 months later, in September of 2013, Terry Golston was shot and killed while hanging out near the intersection of Abbey Street and Pierre Avenue. Fast forward 5 years to August 2018, Vontasia Bell is shot and left dead on the side of Harrison Street in Cedar Grove. 2 years later comes the October 2020 shooting death of Brooklyn Smith in her West Side apartment on Bernstein Avenue. And finally, in August 2021, Brennan Pooh Johnson was shot multiple times and found dead in a car on West 74th Street.
It's frightening that so many of these crimes remain unsolved. It's frightening because it shows where there are gaps and things that need to be addressed in how the police are investigating the deaths of trans people.
Tori Cooper is part of the Transgender Justice Initiative at the Human Rights Campaign. She says one of her fears with these open cases,
trans people are not out here killing trans people in the streets,
is victim demographics. Each person murdered was African American. They all identified or dressed as females, and 3 victims were 25 years old or younger.
What you just described is intersectionality.
And according to Cooper, the intersection between minority demographics and sexual orientation increases the likelihood of police prejudice against the victim, especially in the South.
I will make sure to reinforce that I am a fan of the police. But with that being said, police officers are also human beings. And as human beings, all of us bring our own biases into work.
Cooper says bias most often appears when homicide investigators refuse to identify a transgender victim by their street name and chosen gender.
Then suddenly what you're doing as a police officer, as an investigator, you are not telling the full story.
So police, by failing to ask questions using the name the transgender person goes by, they may be losing leads, they may be losing suspects, they may be losing vital information on a case they could possibly solve?
I think it's fair to leave the word may out of it.
I wanted to speak with SPD about the 5 open transgender homicides, but my request for an interview was denied. But in a statement, the department said, our investigators work all cases with compassion for their victims and their families and friends, regardless of their gender identity, gender, or sexual preference. This comes as violence against transgender people is on the rise. Over the past decade, the Human Rights Campaign has documented 256 transgender homicides in the U.S., 19 murders happening in Louisiana, and that includes the 5 open transgender homicides here in Shreveport and 1 in Bossier City.
It's hard. It's been hard. It's been real hard. But I've been holding on by the grace of God because I have to.
Following the murder, Bonita laid Brooklyn to rest in a small Shreveport cemetery. But for this grieving mother,
That's my best friend. That was my best friend.
peace is hard to find because Brooklyn's killer remains free and Bonita feels police let the case go cold.
My heart is racing. I'm holding back a lot of tears.
But she's not giving up hope, believing God will give her the strength to carry on.
I'm gonna fight to the end, to my last breath, for my justice for my baby.
That's Stacey Cameron reporting. Brooklyn was just 20 years old at the time of her death. As of tonight, Caddo Shreveport Crime Stoppers offering a reward of up to $2,000 for anyone providing information to detectives leading to the arrest and indictment of Brooklyn's killer. You can leave an anonymous tip by going online to the website or just call the number you see here. As always, it's 673-7373.
My first thought is defund the police, abolish the police. My second thought is Brooklyn's mom nailed it right on the head. She said the police are not investigating her daughter's murder is because of her daughter's demographic, and she's right. She's right. Now, my memory short term is not all that great, but listening to the reporter there run down those 5 open murder cases of Black trans women in Shreveport, were all of them shot? I mean, that sounds like a modus operandi, right? It doesn't. If my memory's recollection is correct, they sound like they were all killed the same way. Now, again, I'm not a criminologist. You know, I just watch shamefacedly a lot of Law and Order. I'm very ashamed to say that, but it does sound like perhaps it is one person doing these killings. If all of them were shot, I'm curious. And again, the police are not very forthcoming with a lot of the details because these are still open cases. But hey, it don't sound as though they're doing a very good job of closing these cases. And again, there were several things in that package that jumped out. Again, I was glad to even see the story be reported upon. But there were some problems with it. The lady from the Human Rights Campaign, I was very disappointed to see that Black trans woman sit up there and say that, I'm a fan of the police, but, the police are human beings. They bring their biases to work. Well, why do all of us have to taxpayer fund the police's biases? Police have to be better. And I understand the foundations and the origins of American policing denotes that it can never be better, which is why they must be defunded and abolished, right? But no, dog. No. The people who have so much say and power over the direction of a lot of people's everyday lives at the police discretion, if they so choose to hem up people, or for the people that they don't hem up. In this case, this murderer or murderers that are killing Black trans women in Shreveport. Like, for the police not to be doing their job based on their biases, people die as a result. They are supposed to be the upholders, the guardians of public safety. And when they show themselves incapable or unwilling to do their job, i.e., find killers, i.e., track down leads, can you believe that homicide detective is refusing to take Brooklyn's mother's phone calls anymore? Like, just refusing to take her calls. Like, refusing to call her back, refusing to call back the family member of a murder victim. The fucking audacity. I need to know the race. I need to know the races of these police. Because I know in Louisiana, shit, it could very easily be a lot of Black police sitting on these particular police departments, not doing shit, not solving shit. It don't have to be white cops not solving shit. It could totally be Black cops down there not solving shit, not investigating shit. It sounds as though there's a serial predator loose in Shreveport, and the police are just content to let that individuals continue to run amok because of who they're killing. Listen, guys, we have to make sure that Black trans lives are counted. We have to make sure that they are valued. We have to make sure that they are protected. And because Black trans women are women, and I hate to say this and hear this, but they are this case and this situation happening in Shreveport is eerily reminiscent of a case that we talked about here not that long ago in Kansas City, where the young lady was able to escape the clutches of a person, of a known white supremacist. And the young woman made the assertion that he had killed two others before she made her escape. And people in the community in Kansas City were trying to tell the police for a very long time that Black women were going missing. Was it from 85th and Prospect in Kansas City? The cops gaslit the community, called them liars, saying it was rumors. You can get away with a lot of shit in Black communities, yo. That's why we need community control, either community control of the police, or we need a whole nother separate faction of folks that have the ability to investigate and yoke people to fuck up. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like, there is enough people out here that are internet sleuths, crime sleuths. You feel me? Like, there's a lot of people willing to go do investigative work that the police should be doing. Shit, we should let them do it. We should let them do it. Shit, we should fund them. If we have people among us that are good at research and want to do this shit, there's regular ass people solving cold cases across this country every single day that the cops can't or won't do. And maybe we should start redirecting some of our public funds to those individuals because they seem to be making progress and they seem to be actually getting the job done out here. I'm just so tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted from police, from their ineptitude, from their incompetence, and their just outright racism, their transphobia, their misogyny. I'm just over it. We need some new niggas for these police lights to follow. Because why they following us? It's too dark to see tomorrow. Anyway, we want to send a lot of love to the trans community, period, but specifically to the Black trans community. I know that the Black community at large gives y'all a lot of shit, and they don't support and they don't care. But please know that there are a few of us out here that care. We do care. We do love our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and non-binary folks. We care about y'all. And like I heard one trans sister say before, solidarity is cute, but we need action. So I was gonna say start snitching. if you suspect that there is a predator, seriously, if you suspect that there's a predator in your community attacking women, period, maybe start snitching. But it don't even matter if you snitch because the cops might not even take your fucking phone call. Adios mio. So we love the Black trans community. All Black lives matter. Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. Black trans lives absolutely do matter. Let me take a quick break. You guys give the video a thumbs up, a like. Follow us places around the internet. We are at BIDWKB, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, on Twitter at Burn It Down KB. I hear Bagheera. I made it a point to feed Bagheera before I came in here because I knew Bagheera was going to start bitching. I knew Bagheera was going to start bitching, and she's going to start sitting outside my door and telling me to hurry up and woozy, woozy, woozy. And I said, Bagheera, you're not the boss of me. Bagheera says, oh, but you thought. Bagheera said, actually, I am very much your boss. Make no mistake about it. But that's okay. You know why, everybody? Because for those of you with fur babies, yes, I know your dogs run you. But guess what? Y'all with human kids, y'all kids be running y'all. And guess what? Bagheera don't talk back and shit. And Bagheera go outside to take a shit. So I say advantage Bagheera over your human children. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm sure your children are lovely. I'm sure your children are lovely. They do not pee outside, though. Advantage puppies. Pop up that last story there, Will. Because I wanted to leave y'all on a smidge bit of good news. Since I be blowing shit out of everybody on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, I said, "Hey, let's try to not end it on a sour note. Let's talk about something positive, perhaps." What is this? Where's this story at? Oh, this is the Tampa Bay Times. Tampa Bay Times. Prosecutors drop charges against DeSantis voter fraud suspect. I don't like the use of the word suspect. I do not like the use of that word in this way. Why, Jesus? Why does everybody want to give me pop-ups? I didn't do nothing to nobody. I didn't do nothing to nobody. Okay, here we go. Okay, never mind. It's giving me a pop-up. This is ridiculous. So Tony Patter's son. Oh, this is annoying. Hold on. Give me a second, everybody. Bear with me. We'll keep that article up. There we go. Come on, get out of my way. Thank you. There we go. Prosecutors cited Tampa resident Tony Patterson's son's sentence. Tony Patterson's sentence in a separate criminal case for the dismissal. Ooh, do tell, Tampa Bay Times. What do we have here? So, statewide prosecutors dropped charges against one of the 20 people accused by Governor Ron DeSantis of voting illegally in 2020. In the court filing on Monday, prosecutors wrote that they were dropping charges against Tampa resident Tony Patterson, aged 44, because of, quote, information received from the Hillsborough County election supervisor and because he was already being sentenced to prison in a separate case. Damn, Tony, what happened? The decision means state officials avoid potentially having a second voter fraud case thrown out by a judge in as many months. Look at him. The judge is getting them bogus cases the fuck up out of here. Patterson was one of 20 people accused by Ron DeSantis in a high-profile news conference back in August of voting illegally. As someone convicted of a felony sexual offense, Patterson was not allowed to vote under state laws, but state elections officials who report to DeSantis cleared him to receive a voter ID card and didn't stop him from voting in the 2020 election. Good for him. I'm glad that he voted. Whatever we think about voting, I'm glad to see that formerly incarcerated people have had their voting rights restored, but I hate to see them go through this bullshit. But Monday's court filing did not say what information prosecutors received from local election supervisors. In a separate criminal case in September, Patterson was sentenced to a year and a day in prison after pleading no contest in a charge of failing to notify the local sheriff in March that he was driving a new vehicle. Excuse me? I'm sorry, what? He has to go to jail for a year? Hold on. Did I read that wrong? In a separate criminal case in September, Patterson was sentenced to a year and a day in prison after pleading no contest to a charge of failing to notify the local sheriff in March that he was driving a new vehicle. Under state law, registered sex offenders must report any changes in vehicle ownership within 48 hours. He has to go to jail for a year for that? Hey guys, you know I do not have a soft spot for no fucking sexual offenders, but that sounds egregious and ridiculous, cruel and unusual. The Tampa Bay Times continues, Patterson was facing a much stiffer sentence if convicted of both registering and voting illegally, up to 5 years in prison on each charge. Burn DeSantis in the fucking pits of hell. But his public defender challenged the ability of statewide prosecutors to charge Patterson at all after a Miami judge dismissed a case against one of the other people accused by DeSantis of voting illegally. Under state law, statewide prosecutors are restricted to charging crimes, including voting, that cross multiple jurisdictions, that cross multiple judicial circuits. Those crimes are usually complex, often large-scale or organized criminal activity. Unlike what the fuck DeSantis is doing, large-scale organized criminal activity. I'm sorry. My apologies, everybody, because I thought this was good news that another of the 20 people targeted by Ron DeSantis and his fascist voter integrity unit, I thought that was good news that the person had the charges dismissed. And I guess that was, that was not. He got to go to jail for a year and a day because he bought a new car and failed to notify the sheriff within 48 hours. A year and a day? I am truly sickened by that. Damn. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't fuck this up. I thought this was good news. I thought this was good news. This is actually very infuriating news. He got some bullshit charges dropped against him, but then had to plead no contest to another bullshit charge. And I'm calling that bullshit. And again, y'all know how I feel about fucking motherfuckers accused of doing sexual higgy hagga. I'm not sympathetic. I'm usually not. But I don't think that what this person was accused of doing is egregious or unreasonable. Why 48 hours? How come they couldn't give him a week to notify the sheriff that he bought a new car? What if it was a holiday weekend? There's all sorts of reasons I can think of why this person, Tony Patterson, was not able to alert the sheriff in the time designated that he got a new vehicle in his possession. And now this person has to go to jail for a year. This is what the American prison system is all about. Making sure that people land in jail and then making sure that they continue to land in jail by placing all kinds of insurmountable hurdles and challenges, all kinds of pitfalls, just waiting for making people fuck up, not even waiting for them to fuck up, making them fuck up, forcing them into violating all of these ridiculously strict restrictions and rules. I'm gonna do better. I'm actually going to have a good story to tell you. Maybe tomorrow in Status Quo. I'm not certain about that, but definitely by Friday. I saw a good news story, and I said, that I found a good news story. Look, one of the people got their charges dropped. That was a good news story. My dumb ass. Oh, anyway. Big Teal, I'm furious. Big Teal, I'm very upset. I'm very upset. But listen, guys, the Remix Morning Show, we are on vacation. it would appear we are on vacation this week. Next week, this show is going to be on vacation. We will be posting clips, maybe from shows that you may have missed, or interviews that you may have missed, or stories that you may have missed. We do need a bit of a break. We need a tiny little break. So the first week of January, BIDWKB will be on hiatus for live shows. I will be doing Status Quo Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern, and Friday. Again, tune in for our Ask Me Anything. If you're a member or a patron, you can sign up to become a patron, patreon.com/BIDWKB. Didn't somebody else sign up to be a patron? Glenn! Thank you, Glenn, for your patronage and for your Cash App support. We appreciate that. Coco, did I already thank you? Coco Stren, did I already say what's up to everybody who signed up to be patrons? Yeah. So we got the AMA coming up Friday, but then going backwards, I have a surprise. I have a surprise for y'all after the live show Friday, and then after my surprise is the AMA. So get with the good shit. Sign up, push buttons, and do all those things. Hey, Chuck Diesel's in the building. Come through, mod love. Ooh, ooh. Thank you. Thank you, Chuck Diesel. Thank you. Oh man. Chuck Diesel, my homie. Anyway, what I talked about, what's today? Tuesday, I guess Friday. I don't fucking know. Remember I told y'all about the guy that I knew growing up. You got, he's in jail now for doing very bad things. Me and my friend was talking, and we was talking about the other guy that we knew who's, no longer here for doing bad things. And he said, my friend said, again, it's my childhood friend, he was like, damn. He said, Rajay made Willie D podcast for all the wrong reasons. I said, dog. I said, dog. You don't want to make Willie D podcast for the wrong reasons, man. You want to be on Willie D for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. But Chuck D's, I appreciate seeing you in here, Chief. Thank you all so much. Aggressive Progressive, I see you. Thank you so much. Who else? Hey, what's up, Phil? Thank you, Phil, for your support. You've been supporting it too. Why not learn? Thank you so much. Schultzy, have you gone already to Asia? Or that's New Year's? I forget. But safe travels whenever you're headed out, Schultzy. I'm so glad to see you in here. And some of you guys, I just love you all to pieces. Thanks again, Steve, for your super chat support. Stren Quaker, my baby girl. Quaker. Party at Quaker's house, y'all. June. Hey. it's gonna be house party at Quaker's house. Will is going to be Martin, the DJ, and I'm going to be Bilal, dancing and bumping. Keep Bilal, stop bumping the goddamn table. Anyway, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry, Quaker, for just volunteering your house for the house party. Thank you, Holly. And Lucretia, hey! Oh, good. I'm so glad to see Lucretia. Oh, and Imani. Is Imani in here? Imani, girl, when we broke when we broke the news about Tory Lanez last week, I wasn't ignoring you, sweetness. I didn't see where you had broke the news first. I saw Charlotte break the news. What's up, James? And I should have maybe even talked about that. Maybe I'll talk about that Friday. Because I saw Tory Lanez's father. Did you see his father? Oh my God, his father. His father was currying on. Sir, collect your son. Collect your fucking wayward ass, abusive ass son. Don't yell at Jay-Z. I mean, yeah, yell at Jay-Z. Yell at Jay-Z for other things. You can yell at Jay-Z for other things. Don't yell at Jay-Z about this. Your son did that shit. Jay-Z ain't had shit to do with that, homie. You need to make your way back to Mississauga, my nigga. Make your way back to Scarborough, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Carry all these wayward ass Canadians the fuck out of here. Anyway, guys, that's my time. COVID is definitely still out here jumping on people. Fuck what you heard. COVID is out here jumping on people seriously. So please, especially in the holiday weeks and months, people traveling and stuff, wear your good masks. The KN95s, the N95s are better. Please wash your hands, social distance. Do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. On behalf of Will and Molly, thank you all again for hanging out with me for another night. We will see y'all back here on Friday for a surprise. Come kick it with me tomorrow evening. Status Quo News, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, on behalf of Will and Molly, see y'all later. Bye-bye, y'all. Have a good one. Happy Kwanzaa! Coochie chakalia! Coochie chocolate? Coochie chocolate Aaliyah? Okay, get me out of here, Will. Bye.